I was summoned by one of my members and notified that she was to appear in court, in misdemeanor court, on a simple charge that she felt that she did not want to take a plea to, because she insists on saying that she didn't do what they say she did. And she wanted to see her discovery. She wanted to know, who her, I guess, her accusers were. And the public defender that was representing her insisted that she take a plea. He was basically threatening and badgering her to take the plea and go and get it over with, and so she was calling me on the phone saying, Miss Parker Brown, how close are you? Almost here, how close are you? I mean, I was getting text messages. Her mother called me, her aunt called me, so I was like, I'm on my way, I'm almost there. And she said, because he's telling me I got to take a plea. So when I get there, she's standing out in the hallway talking to the public defender, and her mom was standing there with her. So I walk up, and I'm, overhearing, the conversation that she's basically telling him, why do I have to take a plea? I don't want to take a plea. I didn't do what they said I did. That's not true. And he was basically telling her, if you don't take this plea, you're going to go to trial. They're going to, do this, do that. So I stepped to her and I was like, well, sweetheart, you don't have to take a plea. You have the right to go to trial, and get your witnesses and everything here in your defense. And she was like, well, that's what I want to do, but he's telling me I got to take this plea. So he so when he looks at me, I'm saying, well, she don't have to take a plea. If there's something else that you all can do, let her get a continuance until she get her, I can help her get a lawyer that would go to trial with. Absolutely right, Dr. Stokes, and that is so important, especially when people are young and they don't have a clue about, what's going on in the system and what their rights and their constitutional rights are. And so what we see happening, one of the reasons why we formed the organization, is a lot of people's civil rights, human rights, and constitutional rights are being violated because they don't have a clue. And especially when they're being represented by court-appointed attorneys, which, we call them public defenders here in Louisiana. And they're not there to defend them. They're actually there because they've been appointed by the state, which is the court. They're being prosecuted by the state, and there is a conflict of interest. So what they do is, it's the plea bargaining scheme. They want everyone to just plea and get it over with, and this is what was happening to this child. And her mother was standing there. She was like, no, my daughter have a life. She just had a baby. She got a new job. She needs to, finish school and get on with her life. She don't need to be, tangled up in the system, for something she did not do. So when the attorney realized that, I was, letting this young child know that, she do have a right to exercise her right to go to trial if that's what she wants. And then she also can, get time to hire her a private attorney that would represent her in her defense. So he got really upset. He just storms off like a crybaby, and he was like, well, I'm not supposed to, you interfering with me, trying to represent my client. So he goes back and he tells the judge, apparently, even after I walks away, And he, he snatches her, would not just, direct her into the court where there was no proceedings, nothing happening in the court. Everybody was standing around talking. And he takes her all the way up into the jury area and started talking to her with his back turned towards me and her mother sitting out there on the bench. And she's facing us, his back is turned. So she was like shaking her head in tears, saying that I don't understand what you're saying. I said, well, if she don't understand, then let's go back out and, try to get her composure to understand what he's trying to force and badger her to do. So he gets upset, go and tell the judge, and then all of a sudden I leave. I go into another court with another procedure that's happening with some of my other members, and come back down. I get on my way out the building. The deputy comes to me and say, Miss Brown, the judge wants you back in his courtroom. And I'm like, I don't have any dealings with the judge. I say, and the judge was never on the bench while I was in the courtroom, so I'm like, what is this about? He said, no. I said, well, I'm getting ready to leave. He said, no, you can't leave. You can't go anywhere. You can't go to the bathroom. You going back in there. The judge wants you back in the courtroom. So at this point, I had another attorney, one of my attorneys standing with me that was representing another one of my clients. And she said, okay, I'll go in there with you. I goes in the courtroom, and I'm telling you, the judge pointed his finger, and he was like, you can't do this, you can't do that, and basically telling me I'm banned from the courtroom, you're not allowed back in the courtroom, and if you come back in here, it's going to be $1,000 fine or 6 months in jail. So... at that time, the attorney stepped to him and tried to explain, and he said, I advise you to shut up and listen on. You here to represent her, and, you can't say anything, and just very rude and so disrespectful. So she whispers in my ear, she said, Belinda, just object to everything. And I said, well, Your Honor, let the record reflect that I object. So we go on, and I want to say at least about 5 or 6 weeks later, I get a subpoena. I'm being served, and I'm being served